Once upon a time, there was a hate group that held an entire country in its grasp. But when the war ended, they seemed to vanish without a trace. However, the truth is far more intriguing than fiction. Today, on the captivating channel of Living History, we delve into the dark secrets of what truly happened to the Nazis after World War II. The aftermath of the war saw Germany divided into occupation zones by the victorious Allies, the United States, Britain, France, and the Soviet Union. These nations had a common goal: to implement a plan called Denazification. It aimed to cleanse German and Austrian society from the lingering power and influence of the Nazis. But life for detained Nazis varied depending on the zone they found themselves in, with the Soviet internment camps providing the harshest conditions. Desperate to escape the Soviet camps, many Nazis cunningly disguised their true intentions under the veil of anti-communist sentiments and sought refuge in the Western zones. Among these, French-occupied Germany proved to be the most lenient. They took a broader view, holding Germany as a whole responsible for the war, and showed less interest in distinguishing between Nazis and non-Nazis. In the years following the war, around 400,000 Germans found themselves detained in internment camps awaiting possible penalties. At first glance, this number seems significant, but when you consider that up to 45 million Germans were either members or supporters of the Nazi Party, it becomes apparent that something didn't quite add up. Denazification faced an overwhelming challenge: the sheer magnitude of the task. The process was akin to imagining an entire country queuing up at the DMV, drowning in bureaucratic sluggishness. Another hurdle was the reconstruction of Germany's economy. Denazification rules dictated that offenders should be stripped of their high-ranking positions and forced to undertake manual labor. However, if every Nazi and sympathizer were held accountable, society would be left without enough skilled workers to function. For instance, in the British zone, it was discovered that 90% of lawyers had ties to the Nazi Party. Realizing that a functioning society required law and order, Britain determined that 50% of the German legal civil services could be staffed by nominal Nazis in name only. Similar challenges arose in the French zone, particularly in the field of education. After dismissing 3/4 of the teachers due to Nazi influence, they had no choice but to rehire them to sustain their education system. Thus, the process of rebuilding a nation and simultaneously identifying and penalizing the guilty proved far from simple. To everyone's surprise, by 1946, the Allied powers relinquished their hold on denazification and handed over the reins to Germany itself. Yes, you heard that right. Germany was now responsible for enforcing its own punishment. During this time, South America became a popular destination for the worst of the worst Nazis. Sympathetic dictators in countries like Argentina, Brazil, and Chile opened their doors wide, offering sanctuary to these fugitives. It is estimated that up to 9,000 Nazi officials and collaborators managed to escape to South America after the war. Argentina, in particular, became a haven for them. Juan Perón, the president of Argentina, harbored a deep admiration for fascism, having served as a military attaché in Italy during World War II. Perón actively sought to enhance his country's power by recruiting individuals with military and technical expertise. His government officials went to great lengths to create rat lines, secret escape routes for Nazis through ports in Italy and Spain. They even assisted in forging documents to facilitate their departure. The majority of these Nazis embarked on a journey down the Pacific, armed with falsified Red Cross passports bearing Argentine tourist visas. Once in Argentina, most of them adopted new identities to avoid detection. However, as time went on, it became clear that Argentina had no intention of extraditing them back to Germany, even if their true identities were discovered. Yet, Argentina wasn't the only country poaching Nazis for their own gain. As the United States and the Soviet Union engaged in an arms race, capturing expert scientists and engineers became a higher priority than bringing war criminals to justice. While exploring the fascinating history of post-war Germany, it's important to remember the valor and sacrifices made by the brave soldiers who fought against the Nazis. If you're looking for a unique way to honor their legacy, we have something special for you. Introducing our extraordinary collection of rings inlaid with timber from an M1 Garand rifle stock. The M1 Garand, the iconic service rifle of the mid-1930s, played a vital role in World War II and the Korean War. We've taken the broken remnants of a stock that witnessed active duty and transformed them into timeless pieces of jewelry. Our meticulous process involves stabilizing the timber in a vacuum, preserving its historical significance. Paired with sandblasted tungsten carbide, these rings exude both elegance and a powerful connection to the past. Each ring tells a story of bravery, sacrifice, and the triumph of good over evil. Visit our website today by link in the comments and get 20% off each ring by using promo code LIVINGHISTORY. In 1945, the United States initiated a clandestine program known as Operation Paperclip to recruit German scientists and engineers, many of whom were Nazis, as valuable assets for their own side. The program's primary objective was also to prevent the Soviets from acquiring their technical expertise. During the waning days of the war, a German scientist named Werner Osenberg compiled a list identifying these skilled individuals. However, fate intervened when a Polish lab technician discovered the torn-up list in a toilet. Eventually, the list found its way from MI6 to U.S. intelligence. The United States, in essence, abducted these scientists and engineers, forcibly transporting them to the mainland. They were then held captive for months, subjected to intensive interrogation. Astonishingly, despite their suspected involvement with the Nazis, many of these rocket scientists went on to achieve remarkable careers in the United States and even became part of the prestigious NASA space program. For the most egregious offenders who hadn't managed to disappear into the shadows, the Nuremberg trials served as a platform for justice. In 1946, these trials prosecuted Nazis for their war crimes against humanity, and acts of aggression. The trials held immense significance in shaping international law, particularly regarding the prosecution of war crimes. They represented a crucial step toward holding the most prominent criminals accountable for the horrors of the Holocaust. 24 men were indicted, and their fates ranged from acquittal to imprisonment to execution. 12 were sentenced to death. While the trials provided a sense of justice for some, the fact remains that only 12 men received the ultimate punishment, which pales in comparison to the millions who perished during the Holocaust. Many perpetrators escaped justice entirely. Some critics argue that the Nuremberg trials exemplified victor's justice and lacked judicial validity. Others pointed out the hypocrisy of allied nations prosecuting crimes against humanity while overlooking their own wartime actions. After a few months, the Allied powers abandoned their denazification efforts, leaving Germany with the responsibility. However, the occupiers still maintained control over the country. Unsurprisingly, Germany adopted a more lenient approach to identifying and punishing Nazis. Anyone born after 1919 was deemed brainwashed and exempt from prosecution. The United States reinstated 75% of public officials it had previously removed, and to expedite proceedings and avoid lengthy trials, 90% of Nazis were classified as lesser offenders. By 1948, with the Cold War looming, remaining cases were rushed through, often employing legally questionable methods. In 1951, denazification officially ended, and the focus shifted to providing reparations to victims and their families. Through pardons and amnesties enacted by the German government, nearly 800,000 people were freed from any punishment or penalty. So, was Germany truly denazified? Surprisingly, within the German Ministry of Justice at the time, 77% of senior officials were former Nazis. Even though some of the most notorious Nazis managed to hide and escape Germany, their time in hiding was not always peaceful. Nazi hunters, driven by a thirst for justice, emerged to track down these war criminals living in anonymity. One such Nazi hunter was Simon Wiesenthal, a Holocaust survivor turned relentless pursuer of justice. Wiesenthal tracked down Franz Stangl in Sao Paulo, the man responsible for the Action T4 euthanasia program that targeted those with mental and physical disabilities. After Wiesenthal's discovery, Stangl was extradited to West Germany and sentenced to life imprisonment. In another case, as recently as 2019 in the United States, a 95-year-old man named Yaqiu Palij was deported from the country. A historian from the U.S. Holocaust Memorial Museum discovered that Pelage had served as a guard at a forced labor camp during the war, contrary to his claim of working on his father's farm in 1949. It is an unfortunate truth that not all Nazis were held accountable for their heinous crimes. The pursuit of Nazi war criminals has dwindled in recent years as the generation that experienced World War II has passed away. However, the lessons of history must not be forgotten. If you enjoyed this episode of Living History and found it informative, please show your support by liking this video and leaving a comment about which historical time or event you would like us to explore in our next episode.